This ends today, Eleanor Vance snarled into my face, her voice thin and sharp like a broken shard of glass, and I hadn't even fully stepped out of my old Ford pickup yet. Not after driving 19 hours straight to get here. I'd come home to the Haven, my family's 1918 homestead, the place my grandpa taught me to file a saw and where my grandma, Lila, still smells like wild sage in my memory. And this woman, this complete stranger in an impeccably tailored navy suit, was already standing sentinel at my gate. She was clutching a clipboard like it was the Holy Grail, and her eyes were burning with a kind of bureaucratic fury that scared me less than it confused me. She was claiming I owed $2,000 a day for aesthetic violations that defied the very deed I'd just closed on, a deed I'd paid $750,000 for just to bring this place back to life. What I didn't know then was that her frantic, performative threat was the first crack in a half a dozen home, multi-million-dollar fraud scheme, and that every little thing I documented from that day on, that tiny, stubborn notebook of mine, would become the evidence that completely dismantled her world. If you've ever had a run-in with a truly nightmare neighbor, especially one who confuses rules with power, just tell me your story in the comments below. The first days were pure magic, honestly. The lights streaming through the original wavy glass panes. I mean, they threw these golden, dancing patterns across the wide plank oak floors. I stood in the front hall, breathing in the smell of old lumber and the deep, earthy green scent drifting in from the neglected century-old garden. This was the house where my great-uncle Silas, we called him the Wood Whisperer, taught me the difference between a dovetail and a mortise and tenon, the place where 5 acres of working land used to feed a good chunk of Silver Creek County. I was 42, a restoration carpenter who usually brought high-end city brownstones back from the brink, but this house, this was different. This was muscle memory. This was ancestry. I had my building permit, I had approval from the historical registry, and most importantly, I had a clean deed with no restrictions, no easements, and absolutely no HOA anywhere on the paper. I checked. Twice. Then came the white paper tacked onto the mailbox post. Professional header, bold red text. Creekview Estates Community Compliance Notice. It informed me that the Haven was subject to their ironclad architectural review board and that any exterior work required advance approval. I read it, frowned, and instantly called my lawyer, Finn O'Connell. Finn, I said, I think I just met a high-powered crank. I found this flyer. It's the HOA I swore I'd never join. Finn, bless his dry wit, checked the county records again. Beckett, I'm looking at the digital filings right now. Creekview Estates is a registered website and a P.O. box at the UPS store. Legally, it's about as real as a unicorn's parking permit. Pay it no mind. But something didn't sit right, you know? A fake organization somehow knew the exact moment I arrived. They knew what I was doing, and they were ready to hit me instantly. They were watching. The black, tinted luxury sedan started cruising past the driveway at dusk. Slow, deliberate. The first time, I just felt eyes on me, couldn't see inside. The second time, it paused at the end of the gravel for a full 10 seconds before purring away. I stood there, holding a box of vintage hand tools, and suddenly my grandfather's workshop, 40 yards from the house, felt very, very far away. That night, I sat on the porch, a beer in hand, and pulled up the Creekview website. Slick, sterile, stock photos of perfect green lawns, and the board president listed, Eleanor Vance. No photos, naturally. The rules PDF was 30 pages of tyranny, covering everything from the precise hue of your exterior paint to the species of grass you were allowed to grow. But the one thing it didn't have? A legal filing. No addresses, no boundaries, no incorporation papers, nothing. I texted Finn, it's wrong. It feels fundamentally, criminally wrong. 2 days later, they came in person. I was patching the original cedar siding when I heard the car doors slam. 3 people walked around the corner, crossing my lawn as if they were walking their own dog. Eleanor, severe ponytail, a smile that didn't reach her glacial eyes. Beside her, a man with a thick notepad and a younger woman with an expensive, professional camera. Mr. Pierce, Eleanor stated, her voice pure corporate authority. We sent you notice. You haven't complied. We are here to document your violations. I calmly pulled out my phone, pressed record, and slipped it into my shirt pocket. I'm Beckett Ramsey, and I verified with the county. My property is not, and has never been, part of any HOA. You're trespassing. Her smile widened. That's what made it worse. The county records are, shall we say, incomplete. We've had jurisdiction since 2018. Now, step aside. When they try to circle me, taking photos of the perfectly restored house, the original picket fence, and even my truck, I stood my ground. I'm telling you one last time. Get off my property, or I'm calling the sheriff. The word sheriff landed like a pebble in still water. The man with the notepad looked at Eleanor. She held my stare, a slow calculation flickering in her eyes. We'll leave, Mr. Pierce. You have 3 days left to comply. After that, we file the lien. She leaned in slightly, and the venom finally surfaced. We have attorneys. We have resources. You are one man, fighting a fight you can't afford to win. We will take your house. Adrenaline made my hand shake when I stopped the recording. 12 minutes of pure audio evidence. I sent it straight to Finn, just threatened to file a lien. Heard the whole thing. Finn called back immediately, his voice low. Beckett, that's criminal extortion. Textbook. They just handed you the key. Keep documenting. Let them make the next move. I couldn't sleep that night. I sat at my laptop, 2 a.m., searching for Eleanor Vance's name against property records. I found it. Over the last 4 years, she'd bought and sold 6 properties in this area, always through Meadowbrew Properties, LLC. The pattern was identical. Owner sells cheap, citing HOA issues. Eleanor's LLC buys, flips within a year, nets $200,000 to $500,000 in profit. I added it up. $1.8 million in fraudulent profit. It hit me like cold water. This wasn't about aesthetics. It was a sophisticated, organized real estate scheme. My 5 acres, easily worth $1 million in this market, made me her next retirement fund. The next morning, I texted Finn. It's a land grab. Found 6 victims. She's made almost $2 million. The harassment escalated. Every day brought new invented violations. Then came the police. 2 county officers, looking deeply uncomfortable, standing in my driveway. Mr. Ramsey, we received a report of building code violations from a homeowners association. I calmly showed them my county-approved permits, my historical preservation documents, everything. The older officer nodded, sighing. Your permits are clean, sir. If they call again claiming violations that don't exist, that's misuse of emergency services. We'll document it. As they drove off, I saw the black sedan parked down the street. Eleanor, behind the wheel, watching, a smile playing on her lips. She rolled down her window, just enough for her voice to carry. 2 weeks, Mr. Ramsey. Then we foreclose. Hope that old homestead is worth the fight. I didn't blink. I took out my phone and took a clear photo of her license plate. Her smile didn't drop, but I saw the shift in her eyes. She knew I wasn't just playing defense anymore. I turned my spare bedroom into a war room. A whiteboard charted her property flips, victim names, and profit margins. Finn helped me draft the strategy. Documentation, victim testimony, public exposure, lawsuit. I installed 4 security cameras covering every approach to the property. Motion alerts routed straight to my phone. Everything was time-stamped, backed up to the cloud. Then I started calling the victims. The Lawsons, forced to sell their dream home for $150,000 under value, agreed instantly. We've wanted justice for years, Mr. Lawson said, his voice raw with exhaustion, even years later. Mrs. Martinez, the elderly widow, her voice thin and fragile, confessed, she made me afraid in my own home. I sold just to escape. Every conversation was another nail in Eleanor's coffin. But the centerpiece, the absolute gold, was still the confession. I needed the final piece, her admitting she was trying to profit. I called the number again. Creekview Estates, a woman answered. I need to speak with Eleanor Vance. After some hold music, Eleanor was on the line, instantly warm, almost maternal. Mr. Pierce, ready to discuss compliance. I kept my voice neutral, my phone recording. I want to discuss options. This is causing stress. Maybe we can find a resolution. Her tone shifted, predatory now. Well, compliance would require significant investment, $50,000 in improvements at least, or there is another option. We have investment partners interested in unique properties like yours. We could facilitate a quick, quiet sale, make all this go away. You get a fair offer, much less stressful. I swallowed hard. What kind of offer? She named the number, $700,000 cash, close in 30 days. $150,000 below market, I thought. Exactly her pattern. I hung up, uploaded the audio, and sent it to Finn. She just confessed. We're good. Now it was time for the exposure. I found an investigative journalist named Cara Benson. 2 hours after receiving my evidence package, she called back. Mr. Ramsey, this is one of the most organized civilian evidence packages I have ever seen. This is massive, organized real estate fraud. We met. I gave her everything. She booked the film crew. We filmed on my front porch, using the beautiful old farmhouse as the backdrop to prove that there were no violations. The message: there's nothing wrong with the house. Everything is wrong with the scheme. The climax of the segment would be the ambush. Cara texted me the raw footage the next morning. The camera crew approaching a pristine, gated home. Cara's voice, sharp and clear. Ms. Vance, I'm Cara Benson with News 8. Can we talk about allegations that Creekview Estates is a fake organization used to extort homeowners? Eleanor opened the door, saw the camera, and her face went through 5 stages of panic, landing on a rigid no comment. Cara pressed. Ms. Vance, are you aware that Mr. Beckett Ramsey has recorded you offering to buy his property while simultaneously threatening him with legal action? Do you know that extortion is a felony? Eleanor slammed the door so hard the camera shook. She's panicking, Cara texted. This is going to be perfect. The segment aired Thursday night. Fake HOA exposed. Multi-million-dollar land grab targets homeowners. 8 minutes of devastating journalism. It featured the Lawsons describing their emotional breakdown, Mrs. Martinez's daughter talking about her mother's terror, the financial graphs showing Eleanor's profits, and finally, my recorded phone call, her smooth, reasonable voice offering to buy my home below market value, while the threat of a lien hung heavy in the air. My phone exploded. Neighbors, strangers, victims, all demanding justice. Finn called. The DA's office just called me. They want all your evidence. She's going down. But the story wasn't over. Finn had one last, brilliant, slightly insane idea. Beckett, to fight a fake HOA, you create a real one. The sheer irony was painful. I hated the thought of an HOA. But Finn explained, it would be a legal shield run by residents with minimal rules, maximum transparency, just to prevent another predator from ever trying this again. I talked to Mrs. Blackwood, my trusted neighbor. She'd been here 50 years. If forming a real HOA stops another family from losing their home, I'm in, she said. We called a community meeting in my newly cleaned out barn. 32 people showed up. I stood near my great-uncle's old workbench and explained the plan. Heritage Meadows Community Association. $100 annual dues, no aesthetic restrictions, no power games. Purely mutual protection. We passed the bylaws and gathered the signatures. We filed the incorporation paperwork. 2 weeks later, the Heritage Meadows Community Association was official. We had legal standing. Eleanor Vance had none. Her final, desperate move was to file a defamation lawsuit against me, claiming I'd maliciously destroyed her legitimate business. Finn just laughed. She just admitted her HOA is a business scheme, not a community organization. This is a gift, Beckett. 6 weeks later, in the courthouse, with all the victims seated behind us and Cara Benson's camera crew in the back row, the jury returned. They found in my favor on a defamation claim and found Eleanor liable for fraud, extortion, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and RICO violations. The restitution totaled $1.25 million, almost precisely what she'd stolen. Later, Eleanor accepted a plea deal, 2 years in prison, full restitution, and a ban from real estate. Justice felt like a slow, deep breath I've been holding for a year. The farmhouse restoration finished late that summer. The wide plank floors gleamed, the wavy glass windows shimmered. I was elected president of the Heritage Meadows Community Association, a title I never wanted, but a duty I embraced. We had quarterly potlucks, a community tool library, and zero drama. We changed the law in our state with the new anti-fake HOA Act. My life was completely derailed, but in the best possible way. I'd fought for my home, and I ended up protecting an entire community. My grandpa used to say, "Land doesn't belong to us, we belong to it." Our job is stewardship. I get it now. I sit on the porch sometimes, watching the sun rise, the scent of Lila's wildflowers drifting in, and I know I did the right thing. But here's the thing I want to ask you. Did I go too far? By creating a real HOA, even a harmless one, to destroy a fake one, did I become the very thing I set out to fight, just with better motives? Where is the ethical line between necessary defense and creating a new power structure? Tell me your thoughts below. I'm curious what you think about my solution.